Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM, WFAN.
From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Thursday, the 12th day of October. And been a long time coming. That's the best Yankee playoff win in a very long time. You have to go back a long way. I mean, you have to go back to the year, without any question, 2009. Now, that's their first series win since 2012. But you have to go back to 2009 for the last time they've had a win like this. And really, if you think about the scenario that surrounds this team, the feeling that surrounds this team, this is more emblematic of 96. 96, they won as underdogs. 96, they came from behind. They shocked the world, as they did against the Atlanta Braves after being just embarrassed in games 1 and 2. They shocked the world as heavy, heavy underdogs. That's what they did here. They shocked the world again after getting down to a very good team, and a team that just completely, after a brilliant run, and it shows you how sports is sometimes. It goes from the high to the low to the high. 2 days ago, Joe Girardi is as low as you can be after the game 2 and coming home, getting booed off the field at his own stadium. And just a couple of games later, there he is, as high can be, running to the field to hug his players, to hug Chapman, who supposedly tweeted texted against him, or, did an Instagram against him, after that terrible decision in game number 2. Here are the Indians, who, I remember the night they lost their streak, they all came out and waved their caps and took bows from their fans who didn't want them to leave the stadium after that, incredible historic run. And here they are just a couple of weeks later trying to figure out how they lost 3 more consecutive closeout games to make the number 6 for Francona, stinging for him, who has obviously had such a great postseason record, stinging for him what has happened last year in the World Series, and then here in this series, where his team just completely fell apart. I trace it from the moment Judge backed to the fence and reached over and took back what would have been a 2-run home run for Lindor. From that moment, the Indians unraveled in every possible way. They never got another hit. They never made another big pitch. They never played defense. They made 7 errors in their last 2 games. And what they did in the 9th inning last night was just awful. How about the way Bruce threw that ball back to the infield? I mean, it was almost like a give-up. Jackson running by a base hit to set up that inning. The at-bat by Gardy last night. Why at one point you didn't throw a breaking ball at that front knee and then either get him to swing at it or walk him and then let someone come in and throw a couple curveballs to Judge, which I think would have got him out of the inning. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have lost anyway. The point is, everything for this team that had a wondrous season, which was a favorite to win the whole thing, everything turned sour. Everything went bad for that team in this series. And really, from the moment Judge brought that ball back, and it would have been a very different series. It probably would have ended. And really, if you're looking for where the series turned, it turned the moment Tanaka took the mound, because Tanaka turned the series around. He's the one who turned it around. He's the one who went out there and put forth a brilliant display, got the play from Judge, just enough offense to get out of there that night, win that game 1-0, and then move on from there. But you have to turn it around, and that's what they did. And then they took step after step, and then last night, the guy who, on this show, I have told you all year that I thought Didi was the MVP of this team. I've told you that a million times on the show, how big I thought he was and how special he has been this year. And you saw it again. Him in game 1 against Minnesota, the playoff game against Minnesota, hitting a home run that they had to have in the first inning to level that game after what happened at the top of the first. And then yesterday, with 2 home runs to just set a course for the Yankees in a game where there was so little offense and so many players striking out. I mean, it's unbelievable how many Indians and Yankees just struck out in this series. I mean, it seemed like every hour was a strikeout. It was unbelievable. The ball was never in play in this series. But the Yankees now go on to take on Houston. And again, this team, which has long ago accomplished more than anyone could have expected, reasonably expected this year. The term playing with house money doesn't even cover it now. I mean, they are way past that. This is just a team that's, young and having fun. It's a mix of veterans who last night you saw on display, whether it's Gardner, whether it's Robinson, who came in and threw the most important pitch of that game. How Girardi handled his team last night, from CC, who had just a brilliant 4 innings, then obviously ran out of gas, to Robertson, and then right into 2 innings from Chapman. Think about where Chapman was when he couldn't get an out and he was demoted. And Joe came on this show and said, I'm going to build him back up and I will get him back to the 9th inning. And he got him back. This is a guy you guys want to boo. He got him back to a place where, in short order, he felt comfortable enough in a 1-run game with everything on the line to go to him for 2 innings to shut down the opponent and move on to the next series. That's managing. He got him from where he was to where he needed to be in a very short amount of time. And he had, let's be honest, he had lost his job. He was getting booed off the mound when he went through his wild streak. And now he's a hero with what he did and what he accomplished in this series, looking like the Chapman of old with his performance throughout this postseason and really the end of the season into this postseason. So from a CC to Robertson to Chapman to what you got from Gaudy last night and Didi and obviously it might be someone else the next game. This is a nice mix of veterans and youth. Exciting young players who are going to be here for a long time and who are getting a taste now of the postseason. And it's that rare time, because it doesn't happen often, and it will not happen again for this team. This team will be back playing for championships. This core will be back playing for championships. But they will never, ever go through it with the unbridled enthusiasm and the innocence they have now, because they'll never be big underdogs again. And that's what they were in 96, when they hadn't won in a very long time. It's been a long time between trips. When they went to the playoffs in 95 and were up 2-0 and up 2-0 after, a big dramatic home run, and then got their hearts broken by the Mariners. And then came back in 96 and got run out of the stadium by the Braves in games 1 and 2, and the Braves were an overwhelming favorite in that series. And the Yankees chipped away and came from behind, with Leyritz's big home run and brilliant bullpen. And then won that game 5 when it was Andy over Smoltz in that 1-0 game. And then came back and won game 6 with Jimmy Key starting and the bullpen being brilliant again that night. And Girardi, delivering that big triple against Maddox in that 3-2 win. This team has a little of that. That team was built differently, absolutely. A lot more name guys on that team. Some older guys on the bench on that team. That's not the point. It's not about measuring rosters. What it's about is just the experience of going through it the first time. Even though you're the Yankees and people look at the history and say, how could you ever? I heard someone this morning say, they're the Yankees. They can't ever be underdogs. Yes, they can. And they were. And they were legitimately underdogs. And they'll be underdogs in this series because that's their role this year. But they won't go through that again. And the kids are going to get a lot of experience, and they're never going to go through it as the underdog like this again. That 96 team didn't. Even when they went in 97 and lost, went in 98, 99, and 2000 and ran a incredible, incomparable string of World Series success back to back to back. Or when they, found a way to win those games at home in 01, only to go out to Arizona and squander that 3-2 lead. Or in 03, where I walked through the Marlin offices before Game 4, and they were like, hey, we don't even belong on the same field with you. I said, oh, yeah? Well, a couple of days later, they were celebrating on the Yankees field after a Game 6 win. And then, of course, what went on in 03 when they, had the Classic Series, and then 04 when they had the heartbreaking series. So there's plenty of twists and turns ahead for this team in the postseason. This is the first one. And that's what makes it so special, because you can see it, you can see it in their eyes. You can see it in Bird's face, and you can see it in what Judge, is going through, and Sanchez and all the young guys, or even Didi, who's going through this for the first time as a professional, as someone who has blossomed now into a star, into a full-fledged star. We knew this year how good Didi had become. Now the world knows how good Didi has become. Now he's become a big star on the biggest stage in this postseason. The postseason makes stars. And that's where we are right now as the Yanks get ready to play a team that's got plenty of talent, a team that's got some frontline pitching, a guy that's always done well against the Yankees, plus Verlander, plus all their offense in their lineup. These are two very powerful offensive teams with a lot of terrific young players, Correa and Springer, and, of course, the year Altuve's had this year. And all their offensive players, and some familiar faces like Beltran and McCann and guys like that. So it's going to be a fun series. It really is. And it's already been a wild postseason. It could have been a one-game postseason. Then it looked like it was going to be a short second round. And now you're thinking, hey, one step from a World Series. It's been a long time since the Yankees have lit up an October night like they did again yesterday. You forget, used to come fast and furious year after year. It's been a long time coming. But it was fun to watch. And like I said, this team's got more in store. Listen, they might not win the series, but they're going to give it a good go. It's going to have plenty of twists and turns. It's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously, we got a lot to talk about with it. We'll go down and check in with the guys in Houston, kind of give you a look at that team. Mike Stanton, who obviously from his days here, he'll give us his view of the team. We're trying to get McCann on to talk about, what they present and what the Astros think about things, and get it from his perspective. We'll touch base with some other people, too, as we take you through this afternoon and get ready for what will be a Game 1 tomorrow. There's a Game 5 tonight after Strasburg's performance. Strasburg has gotten a lot of grief for not taking the ball, and he almost got a lot of grief yesterday again for not taking the ball. But when he took it, he knew what to do with it. 7 innings, no runs, 12 strikeouts. That's what they needed out of the Indian ace. He gave him nothing for 2 games. Strasburg gave him anything you could ever hope for. What a performance last night. 7 innings of just brilliance in delivering the Nationals to a Game 5. The Nationals finally have it, what it will take to get past. They have not been able as an organization to get past this game. They will try to get past it tonight with a Game 5 against the Cubs this evening. Getting ready to go take on the Dodgers. Well, the Yankees will spend the weekend in Texas, so they're already there. So, a lot to get to. I'm sure you were chomping at the bit to get in. We'll get it all rolling right after this.